Welcome to the Office Latte Podcast, where we go beyond the boardroom to explore new conversations on life and career. I'm Erin Kennedy, CEO of Professional Resume Services and wife, mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and friend. Now, let's dive in. Good morning, Summer.
Good morning, Erin. How are you doing today?
I am good on this gloomy November day, although I kind of like it. It's fall in Michigan, it's kind of raining, and my whole office is sort of dark, so I had to move the light extra close to me so that you could actually see me.
Yeah, you're actually just in the dark right now, and we're not filming that early in the morning for you either, so that's hilarious.
No, we're not. Did I ever tell you how I got into resume writing?
I don't think you did entirely.
Okay. It started with my love of writing. So I probably, I had always kind of been in writing classes and stuff when I was younger. And then when I was probably 14 or 15, I started keeping a journal, just like on a notebook. And I mean, especially when I was in my teens and in my 20s and my 30s, I was pretty religious about writing in it. And I'll get into that a little bit more with our guest. But the love of writing is what kind of led me to resume writing. Long story short. But, I always loved it. I've always liked the idea of writing and helping people. So I don't know, just kind of blended together. So that leads me to our next guest. This is what she does for a living. And in fact, I will just read her bio to you because she's amazing. Alison Zamora is a journaling guide, a writer, and the founder of Illuminate, where she hosts guided journaling workshops for individuals and teams. In an increasingly digital world, Alison is a proponent of sharing how to unplug and put pen to paper. Through her workshops, Alison guides people to foster positive, meaningful connections with themselves through illuminating prompts.
I love that.
So I know I love this. I've always journaled, but I didn't even realize that this was, and I know how helpful it is. So we'll get into that. Do you journal?
Oh yeah, I love journaling. I have multiple journals, and I just literally put on my Christmas list more journals because I was like, I need more for the new year.
Oh, good. So okay, well, and I'll ask you. So what do you have it like work or health or things like that, like relationships? Or
I think so. In the past, I've had different journals, for different things. So sometimes I'll use it for like goal setting and more spiritual stuff that I'm into at the time. Like whatever I'm kind of into, or if I'm wanting to write out certain things or whatever. And then I've had journals for therapy where I want to take notes back and forth, or I know a lot of people do that with their doctors and stuff. So more of just to keep track of it all. And then I'll just have journals where it's my brain dump at the end of the day or in the morning. And it could be just the most chaotic, or it could be Dear Diary and more sharing what happened that day. So it's either or. I kind of just let myself go when it comes to writing, I just let myself do whatever in my journals. But I know some people I know some people do beautiful journals where every single journal entry is they're writing their memoir. I'm that's
yeah, just beautiful. I know. I had a friend. She's still my friend. Her name is Andrea, but all her journal entries were beautiful, and she would doodle beautiful flowers, and beautiful this and that, and I was never really good at art. So mine were stick flowers and things like that. Yeah. But, hers were beautiful like that, and she would show them to me. And, we were in college together, and hers were just a work of art. I wonder if she still does. I'll have to ask her. But anyways, without further ado, I want to jump into this discussion with Alison. Good morning, Alison. I am so happy that you're with us today. Journaling is one of my favorite things, and I was so excited to find you on LinkedIn. So tell me a little bit, how did you, I have been, just a little back note here, whatever history. I've journaled since I was probably 15 or 16, and not as much now as I should, but I know I feel so much relief after I get it out. And how did you get started in journaling, and what made you decide to really, make this a career?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to talk about journaling and share it with more people. So thank you for having me. I am not a lifelong journaler, like so many people that I speak to who love journaling are. I came to journaling around 2020 after experiencing burnout.
Yeah.
My burnout wasn't caused by overworking or working in a high pressure environment like you so often hear. In fact, my work environments were always pretty much like 9 to 5,
Yeah.
in that I wasn't working long hours. But my burnout came from my work being so misaligned with what I was actually interested in or what I really wanted to be doing. And just as a sidebar here, like I've never been one who has known exactly what they wanted to do. I actually really dislike when people
Very common.
I actually really dislike when people say like if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? I am literally paralyzed by that question because it's so open-ended for me.
Yeah.
Um, so, anyways, all I knew is that I just had like this overwhelming feeling of misalignment. So, I decided to quit my job without a plan. As
Wow.
Phoebe from Friends would say, I didn't even have a plan. Um, it
Wow.
was, yeah, it was COVID, and I had moved back in with my parents. And so I felt like it was the right time to do something like crazy or risky like that.
Yeah.
I had money saved and I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy my time back. So some people use their savings for a down payment on a house. I used it to take a sabbatical. And at first I thought I would take like 6 months off to disconnect and reassess. And 6 months turned into a year, and a year turned into a couple years. And it wasn't like I wasn't doing anything during that time. Like the high achiever in me would never allow for that.
Yeah.
So during this time, I tried many different things. I'm a writer, so I tried copywriting for a little bit. I did yoga teacher training because isn't that what you do when you're lost? I, I
Everybody does yoga. I know.
yeah. I thought I would be an executive coach. I started a plus size lifestyle blog. I got certified in plant-based nutrition. I did an 80-hour like meditation course. I started a couple of newsletters around wellness and personal development. So I was very much in what the
Very
author,
busy.
yes,
Yeah.
I was very much in what Paul Millard calls like the pathless path, like this conscious search for work and what I wanted to keep doing.
Yeah.
And so I did all of these things and none of them stuck. And I could beat myself up about that. Like I have many times, especially in my journal. But one of the things that
You
my
have to try
mentor,
it to see if
yes,
you like it, I mean,
exactly. And that's like what one of my mentors told me. They said, look at everything as a series of experiments. Like these are
yeah.
all just data points. And so, what I came to learn about myself through journaling is that I was still following what I thought sounded prestigious or would sound important to others.
Mhm.
And I was still very much using my mind to guide me and rationalize what I thought I should be doing.
Yeah.
And in the midst of all this in 2022, I actually attended a journaling workshop by Laura Rubin of All's Well Creative. And it was such a special experience for me. It was the first time I had journaled with other people. And I realized how much more potent journaling could be with well thought out and curated prompts. So it just generated like such an expansive feeling in my body. And after that workshop, I looked at journaling in a whole new way. And so even though I had this wonderful experience with journaling, I didn't pursue it right away. I was still going down all these different avenues and experimenting. And I was writing this newsletter called Tend to Self at the time, all about personal development. And so I decided to offer a journaling workshop on gratitude, actually in November. And one person came, my best friend Jamie, and she absolutely loved it. She went on and on about how impactful the prompts were and how what she wrote actually stuck with her long after the workshop ended. So after that, I was like, okay, A, I'm not the only one who thinks these workshops and journal prompts are powerful. And B, maybe there's something more to it. So from there, I put together journaling workshops around different themes like journaling for self-illumination or slowing down for summer or beginner's mind. And what's remarkable is that in my journaling for self-illumination workshop, the response was so incredible. One woman said she started bawling at what had come through on the page. Yeah. And another person requested weekly workshops. And so from there, really, Illuminate was born. And I've been just building it brick by brick ever since, feeling my way through.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. I just to kind of back up, I like what you were saying about, you tried all these different things because really, I mean, with in your career, I mean, I was that way too. I tried a couple of different things and, and ended up doing something that I love, which is writing and helping people. So, that's again, why what you do spoke to me so much. So, tell me about if you want to go back to when you felt really burnt out from your job, from misalignment. I mean, what made you realize that was the reason? Let's say versus people just get burned out and they just want to be done or whatever. What made you realize it was plain old misalignment, not a bad boss or not, crappy coworkers, but it was the wrong thing for you?
Yeah. So I had my background is in marketing, and marketing's always like this really fun department. It's very creative, and I had good people on my teams. Like I loved working with them, but there was just something inside me that always craved like creative freedom and doing something that was really fun and had a lot of meaning to me and the people that I worked with and that I shared my work with. And so the jobs that I was in never really hit that mark. And I didn't identify it as burnout at the time. Like it's only looking back and seeing like, okay, that's why I just had such low energy and I just like everything was such a grind and as a high achiever, like we're meant to like push past these things, work hard and climb the ladder, and it's just like I had zero energy to do that. So that's what really drove me, like this deep inner desire for something that I felt like was fun to do and gave me a lot of creative freedom and was really meaningful. And so that kind of became my driving force. Like I didn't sit at my desk and think like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like I was never someone who had sold lemonade when I was young or had those dreams. But it was always just this desire and this belief that the work that I do could be fun and freeing and meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Wow. As someone who journals, and I did a lot in my teens and in my 20s and in my 30s, but I started having kids and building my business and I really don't do that much. But, lately, I mean, if I do it a few times a year, I know it's terrible. But I'll tell you, I feel so much relief when it's just getting it all out, just getting, all of that on paper. And so in your experience, I mean, what do you think are the most significant mental and emotional benefits of maintaining a regular journaling practice?
Oh, yes. So, I want to preface this by saying, like, when I think of journaling, and especially introducing it to people, like you said, you only do it a couple of times a year, we kind of think like, I have to make this big thing. I have to sit down and write. But what I really focus on sharing is like these micro doses of journaling, like just 4 minutes at a time. And that's what my mentor taught me. And like that kind of changed the game for me. And so
4 minutes? You
yeah,
can do 4 minutes, really.
exactly.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I also want to preface this by saying that, journaling is not like the Dear Diary kind of thing that you might have done as an angsty teenager. It's really a legitimate.
It really
Yeah.
was like that back then.
Yeah, truly. And it can still be. Yeah. It's a legitimate tool for both personal and professional development. So when you hear the word journaling, people typically have a few things that come to mind. So many people come to journaling through the book The Artist's Way, where Julia Cameron encourages writing morning pages. Or maybe you hear about gratitude journaling, reflective journaling, free writing, and it's that, but it's also making lists. That can be journaling. Drawing,
That's true.
yeah, drawing can be journaling. Anything where you're exploring your thoughts, feelings, and emotions counts. So
Right.
my focus when it comes to journaling is really fostering positive, meaningful connection to yourself through illuminating prompts. And what I love about journaling is you don't need any special equipment. You don't need a special outfit. You don't need, to buy anything. Yeah. Other than, everyone has a pen or pencil laying around, and even a scrap piece of paper works. So I love that about journaling. I love that writing really gets us to places that we can't get to any other way, like finding your creative voice or experiencing breakthroughs, moments of courage and resilience, managing your mental and emotional health, your self-expression, shifting your presence, and amplifying joy, just to name a few things. And beyond that, journaling has incredible benefits, including mental, emotional, and physiological benefits. It does everything from help diminish stress and anxiety to improving your memory. It organizes your thoughts, enhances your creativity, and it can also promote your self-awareness and your mindfulness by revealing patterns of behavior, emotions, triggers, and coping mechanisms. So the benefits are wide and far-reaching and long-lasting.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so when we're talking about job seekers, what do you recommend? So when I was talking with my podcast producer, Summer, before we brought you on, we were talking about journaling. And Summer is a big journaler, and she has different journals for different things. So, so a couple of different questions here, I guess. For job seekers, how does this benefit them? I mean, to me, it would be the obvious thing, like, getting out your stress of the day or whatever. But also, like you said, okay, this is just a much bigger question. Like you said, even note taking is considered journaling. So the notes that they're taking about job search or whatever frustrations, I guess, would count, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, how does journaling really help job seekers?
Yeah, I mean, as a job seeker, you go through so many emotions, right? You go through, the joy of finding like a possible dream job. You go through exasperation, desperation, hopelessness, hope. Like it's such a roller coaster. And journaling is there for you for all of it. And so Oftentimes, especially for job seekers, I suggest, you can use your journal as a place to rage on the page, to vent those
Love
frustrations.
that.
Yeah, that's an easy one to remember.
That is a good one. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done that many times.
Yes, yes. And you can also use it as a tool for self-discovery. What I love about sharing prompts with people and having a journaling guide is that we can help you ask better questions. So we have this overarching question of, if you could do anything that you wanted, what would you do? There's layers to that. So what I, as a journaling guide, would add on to that, what would be, if you could do anything that you wanted to do and you didn't have to take into consideration the opinions of the people around you, what would you do? Because so often we take those opinions into consideration without even knowing that we're doing that. What would I do? But also, what would make my parents happy? Or what would make my spouse feel safe and secure? Or what would sound good to my peers? There are a lot of opinions that are kind of like under the surface and rooted, that are influencing what we do. So if we can just acknowledge that and put it aside and ask ourselves that question, it opens us up to more possibility and letting kind of those whispers that we have inside speak louder to us.
Yeah. Oh, I like that, because it really does, and it I think allows more focus to come through about what you would like to do. Like you said, those whispers inside. A lot of times when you're just writing and you're writing, and it just comes out.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. So here's the other thing I was thinking about when Summer was talking about, I have one for this and this and this and this. Do you recommend having different journals for different things? Or because I still to this day, I have one journal, which I kind of, at night before I'm going to bed, I'll just dump some stuff in there. But like I said, it's not often anymore. But do you recommend people have, I love that idea of having different journals for different things.
Yeah, that's everyone's relationship to journaling is different. So if that's what works for you, that's amazing. I'm like you, I have one journal. And you know what, for me, it's very rare that I go back and read my journals. Like I really treat them as like, this is in the moment, how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm processing. Sometimes I'll keep my journals, sometimes I'll get rid of them. So it just really depends kind of what relationship you want to build with them. There's no right or wrong way. So whatever works for you, I would encourage that, because that's going to help that habit become stickier.
Yeah. When you were saying, when you were talking about your emotions and journaling, I have some that I look at the cover, because I have them kind of all hidden. I don't want to leave the house finding these because they're hidden.
That's like our journaling trauma, speaking of like when we hide them or like we stuff them somewhere. Totally.
Yeah. My kids do not need to know what I was thinking about when I was 20 years. But, or what I was doing back then. But anyways, it's funny because I have seen some in just looking at the cover, because I have had different ones through the years. I've had cute covers. I've had big, giant notebooks. I've had little books. And, I can tell instantly. I remember something you had said made me think about the different things that I've just dumped into these journals, just to help process grief, the loss of my parents, or a breakup, or loss of a child, things like that that you just dump into these things. And I can look at the cover and I think, oh, I can't even look at that, because I know what you were saying. I don't read, I don't go back. I really don't either, because some of it's really painful, and I got over it and moved past it, but I haven't gotten rid of them yet, because I always think, oh, maybe someday when I'm 100, I'll want to go read about my life back then.
Yeah.
But I haven't yet. I really haven't yet. But yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that. I have the same. I'm the same way. When I left one of my past jobs, my coworkers gifted me all of these notebooks, and so I've been slowly making my way through them, and they're all different. But the same with you. Like I could look at that notebook and recall a time in my life where I was writing in it.
Yes, especially if they were small.
Yeah.
my mom had given me one, after a breakup, or I had one after the loss of my, parents and stuff. And and I just, some of them are small or whatever, but yeah, now I just kind of stick to a notebook. But,
Yeah.
so, so for somebody, let's say they're a job seeker or just anybody, they're listening to this and they're thinking, okay, how do I get into this? How do I even begin? So, many people will struggle to maintain a journaling habit. I mean, what do you recommend as far as, doing this as something regularly?
Yeah, well, I mentioned before, make it a small habit. So for 4 minutes
Time of the day or what, or just whenever?
whenever you can fit it in. Some people like to journal when they get up in the morning. Some people like to journal before bed as a way to like brain dump before they go to bed. And then some people, we're so busy, it's just kind of fit it in wherever you can. I recommend starting with just 4 minutes. And like I said before, free writing or morning pages is a lot of times how people come to journaling, where it's just like stream of consciousness writing.
Yeah.
What I have found is that almost becomes like a documentation of my day when I do that. And so I'm a real proponent of journaling prompts. So that's what I share in my workshops, in my newsletter. And so I really curate these prompts that people can grab at any time, set a timer for 4 minutes, and write. And
I love that.
yeah, and journaling isn't something that you have to do every day. I know with all of the talk about habits, it's, very rigid. Try and do it every single day. If you can do it a couple of times a week, that's amazing. Your journal is there for you when you need it. It's non-judgmental. It's not going to criticize you. It's there for you. And especially it's there for you as much in times of hardship as it is to amplify joy. So through the plethora of emotions, feelings, and thoughts that we experience.
Yeah. I do like a gratitude journal. I do have one, actually. I don't know where it is. I had one, I should say, but I do like having that too, because it does make you remember of all the good things, whether it's a hot cup of coffee or, a new car.
Yeah,
Having that.
absolutely.
Okay, wait, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on digital versus analog? Okay, I like my paper and pen, but I know, some of my nieces and nephews, they're just on their phone. They've got their stuff on their phone and they're writing it out there. I mean, I guess it depends, but what are your thoughts on digital journaling compared to traditional paper and pen methods? Are there any advantages to either?
Yes. So I am a proponent for getting more analog in our digital world. Like we're on screens constantly. And what I love about journaling is it's a very tactile activity. You have your pen in your hand, you're writing on the paper, and it gives our eyes a break from the screen. Sure. And so I really advocate for analog journaling, doing it, outside even, or in a different environment, in a space where you feel comfortable. And, putting pen to paper, it helps us slow down. Like if you're a fast typer, you're going to be just flying through your journal. But the act of writing really helps us to slow down. It's part of that, easing our stress, slowing down that stress response. And so for me, I am a pen to paper advocate.
Me too.
Yeah.
I even have special pens.
So do I. So do I.
Yeah. I have some journals. I have, I remember, I was in my gel pen phase. So like all the pages were different, different colors. I think, and it's like making it fun. I had a couple where I had like stickers and like, different things like that. See, you're right in the sun. You're like half in the sun and half in the, but I think making it fun, like that, like adding stickers or gel pens or whatever, also helps, I don't know, make you want to do it more.
Yeah, absolutely. Or having different highlighters or different colored pens, like that all helps to kind of be a vessel for your creativity. And that really helps to also build it into a ritual. Like you are being intentional with the notebook that you choose, the pen or
Yeah.
pencil that you choose, the color. And so, yes, I definitely love incorporating all those different elements.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. It just makes it even more fun. How can asking better questions help you get unstuck, especially in the job search?
Yeah. I don't think you necessarily need to have a separate job search journal, but to each their own, absolutely. But I think, having that journal, that companion by
Yeah.
your side as you're navigating a transitional phase in your career, whether it's you've been laid off and are looking for a job or are trying to pivot into a different position, it's going to be there, especially when you kind of exhausted, your friends and family around you with, what you're going through, your emotions. Your journaling can be there. And, you know, writing about different types of prompts, whether or not they're job related, are always going to illuminate something about you that maybe you wouldn't have realized or thought of before. And that's going to inform and better give you a better picture of what it is you're looking for in your next step. And so, whether, like I said, whether you're journaling on a job search specific prompt or not, I think you're going to find so much more connection to yourself, so much more catharsis with the act of slowing down to write and reflect.
I love that. As you were talking, I was like, I need to go out and get some new notebooks,
Great.
and really get back into it, because I do always feel a lot better, just so much
Yeah.
better when I journal. It's
Yeah.
just
And that's,
for it now.
yeah. And that's the consistent feedback that I receive from people is, my mind is so much clearer. I feel so much more lighter. I
Yeah.
feel more positive. And so that's those feelings. I think oftentimes people don't realize they're in maybe a state of overwhelm or stress, or they don't realize how it's impacting them
Right.
until they write and they're like, okay, I do feel a marked difference and a shift than
Yeah.
even just 4 minutes earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love this. This has been amazing. So tell me about your prompts. If a listener wants to use your prompts, because I mean, that's the best way to get started. And I'm even thinking, like, for me, I love that idea as somebody who's been journaling for years. I would love to have like a guided type of a journal too. So how do people find you, and how do they find your prompts? And
Yeah. So one of the prompts that, I always suggest is kind of like a starter for people that they can do anytime is a sense check. So set a timer for 4 minutes and write about what you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. It could be textural or just feelings in your body. And of course, you're going to name what's immediately around you. Maybe I taste my morning coffee, or I hear the laundry machine, the washing machine going. But see what you can sense beyond that. And you'll be surprised that when you really slow down and take the time to notice your surroundings, you'll really be surprised about what you can hear beyond the hearing. And so that's a wonderful prompt that you can do every day, even to really get back into your body, back into your surroundings, and come back to the presence or to the present. Beyond that, so I have a weekly newsletter where I share one prompt once a week to illuminate your own wisdom, insights, and inspiration. And then I do host a weekly 30-minute journaling workshop
Nice.
It's completely free. It's 30 minutes, 3 prompts, and pretty much a guaranteed transformation that will
So
stay
it's
with
like
you.
a Zoom type thing?
Yes, it's on Zoom. Yes.
Okay.
A pretty much guaranteed transformation that will stay with you for the entire week. And I really love that because of that feedback I received at my first workshop where someone wanted a weekly, journaling session. And I thought, you know what? Like, we have this loneliness epidemic that the Surgeon General has talked about. I too am craving community. And so why don't I offer that up? And, sometimes one person shows up, sometimes 10 people show up. Like, it really just depends. But I love that it's there for people whenever they need it. And so it's,
For those listening, what's your website or your email address? Like, how do they?
so my hub is on Substack. So it's alisonzamora.substack.com.
One
And
L, right?
yes,
Allison?
one L. And so you can find everything there. I have all the links to the weekly workshops. You can go back through the prompts, and it's all free to access.
Well, this is amazing. I am so glad that we talked because it's a really good reminder that journaling is something I enjoy, something I love, and need to definitely make more time for.
With just 4
I
minutes.
hope our listeners do too. So definitely, send us an email and let us know. Office Latte Podcast at gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the journaling and reach out to Alison because she's amazing. We will link all of her socials and how you can get a hold of her in the podcast. So but thank you so much, Alison. This has just been amazing. And I'm so glad to have met you because it's just kind of re-energized me in my my journaling. And I'm signing up for I'm going to find I think I signed up. I did sign up for, I'm getting your weekly email. But
Amazing.
programs, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on and for sharing the good word about journaling because really anyone can do it. And it's so fun when, I'm able to help people reignite that journaling spark or bring people who are skeptics into journaling.
Or
Yeah.
not even knowing how to begin, or feeling
Yes.
silly about it. Like, oh, what do
Yeah.
I write about,
Yes.
Really, I think the prompts is just a great way to begin and keep yourself, motivated to continue to do it. So
Yeah.
I love what you offer. I think it's so necessary.
Thank you. And I love saying like a blank page is nothing to fear when you have a good prompt. So I share a lot of them. So there's a lot to choose from.
Oh, good. Well, thanks again, Alison. It's just been a
Thank
joy,
you.
and I will see you in your prompts.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for listening to the Office Latte Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Executive Resumes, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Office Latte Podcast. If you have any career questions or conversations you want us to talk about, send them to officelattepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer them in an upcoming show. Have a great week and stay caffeinated.